Hey everyone, welcome back to Literature Nuts, the channel where we make literature come alive. In the previous lecture, we discussed the 18th century rise of the novel and the several factors responsible for its emergence. So if you haven't watched the first lecture, I'd suggest you watch that first. And in today's video, we're diving into the rich world of 19th century novel, how they evolved, what the Victorian novel was all about, and how gender roles shaped literature in that era. So grab your notebooks and let's go on a journey through time. Why the 19th century matters. The 19th century is often considered the golden age of the novel. This is the period where the novel grew from just an entertainment medium into a powerful tool for social commentary, psychological exploration, and moral questioning. Why is it so important? It's because of Industrial Revolution, rise of the middle class, literacy rates improved due to mass education, printing became cheaper, the books became more affordable, as we learned in the previous chapter. Genres exploded into several subgenres such as historical fiction, social novels, romance, realism, adventure, and even early science fiction. So let's break this century into two broad literary periods. The first, the early 19th century, Romantic and Gothic influences. Second, the Victorian era, from 1837 to 1901. Early 19th century novels, 1800 to 1830s. Before the Victorian novel, we had Gothic fiction. Imagine dark castles, supernatural elements, emotions, logic. Think of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Frankenstein was written in 1818 by Mary Shelley. It's a blend of Gothic horror, romanticism, and early science fiction. Its themes are man versus nature. Victor, the protagonist, Victor Frankenstein, defies natural limits through science. Isolation. Both Victor and the creature suffer loneliness and rejection. Responsibility. Who's truly the master? The creature or his creator? Shelley, a young woman, wrote this in a male-dominated literary world. Women in the novel are passive, reflecting society's view of women at the time. But the novel itself is a powerful critique of unchecked masculine ambition and the absence of nurturing, feminine values like compassion. Romantic novels. Inspired by nature, individual emotions, and idealism, Sir Walter Scott, Jane Austen, Anne Radcliffe emerged as popular authors around that time. Among them, Jane Austen stands out the most. Her novel like Pride and Prejudice, written in 1813, explores marriage, class, and gender roles with a sharp eye on rationality and social norms. Her style bridges the gap between 18th century formality and 19th century realism. As we have learned in the previous chapters. Now, let's move on to the Victorian novel. What was the Victorian novel? From 1837 to 1901, the Victorian era began with the reign of Queen Victoria in 1837 and lasted until 1901. This was a time of rapid change. Technology, empire, science, religion, and novels became the perfect space to discuss all these issues. The key features of the Victorian novel: realism. Characters felt real, settings were detailed, plots reflected society. Social commentary. Novels tackled poverty, class struggle, women's roles, morality, and industrialization. Serialized format. Most novels were published chapter by chapter in magazines like today's Netflix series. Easy. Moral tone. Victorian authors often included a sense of right and wrong, promoting values like charity, hard work, and honesty. Character growth. Readers followed characters over many years or stages of life. What were the major themes of Victorian novel? Poverty versus wealth, industrialization and its impact, education, women's roles in society, religion and doubt, Darwin's theory shook faith, colonialism and race. Let's discuss famous Victorian authors and their works. Let's meet the stars of the Victorian novel. Charles Dickens, the master of social novels. His work exposed child labor, poor houses, and the gap between rich and poor. The famous novels are Oliver Twist, David Copperfield, and Great Expectations. The second we see Charlotte Brontë, Jane Eyre, written in 1847 by Charlotte Brontë, a revolutionary novel where the female protagonist, Jane Eyre, demands love, respect, and independence. I am no bird, and no net ensnares me. I am a free human being with an independent will. This line captures the soul of a Victorian heroine. Why is Jane Eyre revolutionary? Jane is poor, plain, and orphan girl, yet the heroine. She demands love based on equality, not class or appearances. She works as a governess representing the working woman. The novel critiques class discrimination, gender hierarchy, religious hypocrisy, the idea that women should suffer silently. It also has Gothic elements such as Thornfield Hall as a mysterious mansion, the secret attic, Bertha Mason, symbol of repressed female rage. The feminist reading points out Jane's struggle for self-respect, spiritual independence, and freedom made her a proto-feminist icon. While we see another Brontë sister, the Emily Brontë, her famous novel Wuthering Heights, written in 1847 at the same time as Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë, her sister, it was a dark, intense, and poetic novel which explores passion, revenge, and social status. The popular quote from this book was, "Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same." Now we see George Eliot, real name Mary Ann Evans, wrote Middlemarch, a deep, complex novel of society, marriage, and reform. She used a male pen name to be taken seriously. The growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts. One of the greatest novels in English literature and a masterpiece of psychological realism. What makes Middlemarch unique? A multi-layered social novel set in the fictional English town, follows several characters, especially Dorothy Brooke, a smart and idealistic woman who wants to lead a meaningful life. This novel explores marriage and ambition, the role of women in intellectual life, class mobility, the effects of reform politics in provincial England. Why it's so important? Eliot brings deep empathy and moral complexity to all her characters. She doesn't give easy answers but shows how decisions shape entire lives. Challenges the ideal woman narrative. Dorothy struggles between duty and self-fulfillment. And last but not least, Thomas Hardy wrote tragic novels set in the rural countryside. I'm gonna do my own pronunciation of this novel. Tess of the D'Urbervilles, Jude the Obscure, challenged Victorian morality and religion. Now we see gender and the 19th century novel. Now, let's talk about something very important here. Gender. How did gender affect the novel? Women as writers. Women had limited access to education, money, and publication opportunities. Many female authors used male pseudonyms to avoid prejudices. Examples: George Eliot, the Brontë sisters, they used their pen names to hide their own identities, to be taken seriously. Despite these barriers, women shaped the novel form profoundly. Women as characters. Victorian novels often portrayed women in two major ways. The number one, the angel in the house, pure, self-sacrificing, domestic, obedient. An example, Agnes in David Copperfield, Charles Dickens novel. Number two, the fallen woman, independent or sexually free women were punished or shamed in the society. An example, Tess in The Tess of D'Urberville. However, authors began challenging these tropes. Jane Eyre asserts her right to equality and dignity, while Dorothy Brooke, now from novel Middlemarch, aspires to be intellectually fulfilled. Maggie Tulliver, the mill on the floors, suffers for being passionate and curious. The woman question. Victorian society debated: should women be educated equally? Should they work outside the home? Could they vote, own property, inherit wealth? Novels became battlegrounds where these questions were explored. Public versus private spheres. Men were associated with the public world, work, law, politics. Women were expected to remain in the domestic world, home, children, morality. Authors like Eliot and Gaskell blurred these boundaries, showing how the private is political. Women reading and writing novels. Novels were one of the few socially acceptable forms of self-expression for women. Female readers shaped the market, and many novels were written with female readers in mind. Even today, these novels are read, adopted, and studied. Why? Because they offer rich storytelling, reflect timeless human struggles, help us understand society, change, and identity, show how literature can influence real-life reform. The 19th century novel didn't just entertain, it shaped society, especially in how people viewed gender, morality, and identity. It gave voice to the voiceless, challenged old norms, and laid the foundation for modern literature. These great novels don't just tell stories, they tell us about the world we live in. If this helped you understand the power of Victorian literature and the role of women in shaping the novel, hit that like button. Next time you read Jane Eyre or Middlemarch, remember these weren't just stories, they were quite revolutions. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like and comment if this lecture was helpful for you. I could really use some feedback in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and ring a bell icon so you can get to see more informative videos like this one.